Hey guys, it's been a while. Since I've made a video, I've seen a lot of you guys in between the last video I made and this one. But anyway, I am going to explain this really briefly because I know that those of you who are home and have not been at school because of various reasons, I want you guys to understand what you're doing, okay? So, you guys wrote your Macomber essay, not your essay, but you've written the 4 internal paragraphs, which are your test paragraphs. Remember textual evidence, and then your evidence, support, and then a tieback. Remember all of that? You had to hand in at least 4 paragraphs with your claim. Okay, that's going to be the internal part of your essay that we're writing over Macomber. Okay, so we still have stuff we got to do with that, transitions and whatever. But now you have to write your intro and your conclusion. Okay, so to understand this, there are 4 major things you need in the beginning of an intro. So the first is a broad general statement, or a BGS. Okay, the next is background information, and the next is a bridge, and the last is a claim. Okay, you've already written your claim. Essentially, when I break it down to the very, very minimum, this is how it works. Okay, give me a first sentence, which is, this is basically what I'm going to talk about. This is kind of what my essay is about, vaguely. So, like, I'm going to talk about characterization. I'm going to talk about theme. I'm going to talk about this short story or this author or whatever. You don't really get into much. You're just kind of letting us know this is what the paper is about. Okay? So then the next thing you do is go, okay, but you need to know this information in order to understand what I'm going to argue. So you want to go, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is what you need to know about before you read. And then what you do is you have to go, okay, now how do I get from this is what you need to know about to my claim? So you've already written your claim. So if your claim is that basketball is a better sport than baseball, so your opening would be like, your broad general statement is there are a lot of sports that people enjoy in America. Okay, so what information do I need to know about that? So I might have to say something like, okay, well, there are 2 major sports that a lot of people really, really focus on in America, and that's football and baseball, and they're both equally important. Okay, now if my claim is that baseball or football is better than baseball, or I don't even know what sports I just said. So then, how are you going to connect that there's these 2 that everybody likes in America to baseball is better? So you've got to say, while both sports are really interesting, there are several qualities that make baseball better. Okay, really general. And then you go into your claim, which has a topic, an assertion, and a warrant. So then your claim is baseball is better than football because it's been around longer, it's more of a competitive sport, and it's not full contact, or whatever your reasons are. That's basically what your intro does. It says, hey, here's what I'm going to talk about, but you need to know this information, and here's the idea of how I'm going to apply that. Here's what I'm going to prove to you and why. That's an intro. Okay? So those things are broad general statement, background information, your bridge, and your claim. Okay, so I have examples for you on here about a story or a novel you haven't read, and then I also have one about Scarlet Ibis. Okay, so I have Pride is all too often a motivator for many people. Okay, so you know I'm going to be talking about Pride. Okay, what's some background information you need to know? Scarlet Ibis, so I've introduced what story I'm going to talk about, is about 2 brothers post World War One, and they both struggle to find their own place in the world. Each brother has motivation for pushing themselves too far. I'm going to talk about brothers and pushing too far. Okay? Now, how am I going to connect that to my claim? My claim, I already wrote that, is brother did not intentionally kill his brother, but through his own pride, he is partially responsible for Doodle's death, which can be seen through his actions and cruel words. But how do I go from each brother motivates each other, blah, blah, blah? How do I go from that to that? Well, I've got to say, for brother, his embarrassment of his younger brother motivates him to suffer a loss he can't recover from. Okay, so that's my bridge. That's how I'm going from the green to the orange. Okay, so that's basically all what we did in class. Okay, so if you go through all of the steps, what it tells you to do is you go to broad general statement. There are some sentence stems here. A sentence stem is I give you part of the way it's going to start. It's the stem of a sentence, which means it begins, and then you have to finish it. So authors use blank in literature. So authors use theme in literature. And then what else do you have? So authors use theme in literature as a tool to help you learn a lesson, whatever. But those are some ideas of how you can get started. The next thing is your background information. So if you're stuck, you can use any of these things, like where does it take place? Who are the main characters? What time period? All of that. The bridge is, that one's a little bit harder. That's the one where people get stuck. You have to do it. Okay? And then we go into the conclusion. Okay? So the conclusion is like, if you think of like the intro as a triangle, where it's like broad, gets narrower, narrower. Okay? The conclusion is the opposite, where it goes from, okay, this is this serious stuff I just talked about, and then it goes out. Okay? So what a conclusion does is go, okay, here's what I told you. Here's how I told you. Here's why it's important. And here's a key ID for you to remember. That's all the conclusion is, okay? So you start with the bridge. The bridge is like, okay, this was my last idea. I'm going to start talking to you about the conclusion now without saying, in conclusion, this essay talked about, I wrote about Bad News Bears. Don't do that, okay? Then your restated claim. How do you say what you've already said without saying it exactly the same way? Okay, then you explain how your evidence proves your claim. Don't restate it all. You're just going to take the evidence in general and say, okay, well, this is how it explains it. So in Scarlet Ibis, some things that I might want to show about embarrassment is that initially brother pulls him around in a cart because his parents ask him to, but he doesn't like that, so he decides that he's going to make him learn how to walk. Okay, and then I might also use the evidence that he wants to motivate Doodle, so it makes him touch his own coffin. And then I might say, and finally, he wants him to keep up, and he's frustrated. So at the end, he runs away from him, which ultimately causes his death. I don't want to bring all three of those examples up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say through his actions and the things he does to brother, he inadvertently causes his death. Or if I don't want to say inadvertently causes his death, maybe I say his own ambition and his own pride take part in his death. Okay. The concluding thought is what that final clincher you want to leave somebody with. So like pride is something that we can control, but if we don't, can cause us a major loss. Something like that. Okay. So this all tells you how to fill that out. And then I have my conclusion down here from All Quiet on the Western Front. I have not written mine for Scarlet Ibis yet because I'm probably going to do that in class today. Okay, so you need to have an intro and a conclusion for next class period. Okay, so what you'll have is an intro, a conclusion, a claim, and then your 4 paragraphs with your evidence. We're going to be almost done with our essay. And then we have to go through the editing process and the revision process and all of that. And the reason we do this is because most of the time a teacher will assign you an essay and say, okay, write an essay on blah, blah, blah. And you'll go home and you'll be like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to wait till the last minute. And then you wait till the last minute and then you sit at the computer and you're like, I don't know where to begin. Okay, I'm just going to start. And then you start typing. Or you use text to speech, speech to text, and which is brilliant. But then you don't go back and look at it. You just like leave it and then hand it in. Hot Mess Express. I don't want to grade that. That's going to be awful. You got to go back and change that stuff and make it better. So we got to edit it, okay, which is all of our boo bags. Okay, right now, don't worry about that. This is like a rough draft, okay? Then we go to our second rough draft, then which is where we edit. Editing is on our rough draft. And then we go to our second rough draft, which is where we revise things, and then we go to our final draft, which you guys will pair edit and do that kind of thing. Okay, so we have a couple of steps we got to go into in between, and we're gonna start reading *Fault in Our Stars*, and I'm gonna make sure you guys get your books. You guys are gonna read it all outside of class, and then we're gonna talk about it. Okay. So I hope that's everything, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.